I'm Shorty, and I've got to change the name today. He says, don't call me that. See, only a short person can call a tall person short. Yeah, you heard that. All right.
Hello. I'm Brandon D. Johnson, and this is the American Poetry Museum. First of all, let's have a round of applause for Kelton Norris.
Yes, sir.
And Janelle Gill on keyboard. And Don Pepe Gonzalez on bass. Today, we have Patrick Washington and 3 members of the DMV Slam team: Mekdi, Gebreslassie, Saniya Pearson, and Ash Newton. Now, I don't know much about the 3 young people, but I know something about Patrick Washington. I've known him since 1994. He's been, first it was Generation 2000, and then, what was that? I can't remember the name of that other one. OMC. Yeah. But I've been thinking about this. There was, this is real quick, short story. There was a reading at a place in Southeast, and Patrick had a poem that was similar in thought as one of mine. And I thought, man, these poems would be great together. And I said, you know, it'd be great if I just popped in there. That was my brain going, it'd be great. So Patrick is up, we're outside, it's warm and everything. It's a day like this, but it's sunny. But a day like this, but it was sunny, and well, the poems dealt with skin color, and he remembers, he knows what I'm talking about, and so. Stuff. He doesn't answer with something crazy. He goes on. He's smooth. He keeps it going, and I always appreciated that about him. You know, I can say now, sorry, bro. So anyway, you're going to hear some good work and some good music. And maybe they'll work together. So enjoy.
Hi everyone. My name is Ash Newton, and I have X-ray vision. If you've ever been to the Art Space Rhizome in Tacoma Park, you may remember my X-ray vision demonstrations. And I know it sounds crazy, but seeing is believing, and I see it. I've put together some poems for you, that I will be competing at a national competition next week, which I'm very excited for. This first one is called Poem About Being Trans. I wasn't gonna write a poem about being trans, but here I am, with my 5/7 self split between the binary bars of beat and meter without rhyme nor reason. Verse starts to sound like versus, and the words feel worthless when I'm asked to condense my tense into am instead of could have been, should I, then? I wasn't gonna write a poem about being trans because you can't fit non-binary into iambic pentameter, and few want to hear Shakespeare if it's Jomeo and Juliet. Well, I'm not ready to rule it out. So bring out the lords and ladies and swords and blades to make this story a more entertaining tragedy. Perhaps a few well-placed slices could actualize my androgyne insides, as in, make it matter to my mirror. Show, don't tell, what I know so well. I wasn't gonna write a poem about being trans, because it's a language most don't understand when they ask me, how am I supposed to call you they, them if you have long hair? And how am I supposed to hire you? Well, I don't care. I wasn't assigned anything at birth other than average, and I've spent my whole life trying to ascend, and you're Icarusing me over a name tag? I'm not flying towards the sun or the daughter. If that's what I wanted, I'd have it. What I really am is a free-fall addict obsessed with the wind under my wings and the warm wax when it wears down. And when I hit the water, I'll take a graceful bow. All the world's a stage, and I'm an understudy, hoping if I spit my lines convincingly enough, the audience will forget I'm a sorry substitute, barely holding together the choreography as I thrash against the tide. I refuse to pick a side. No left or right. The only way is down. Let me drown. I wasn't gonna write a poem about being trans because this sea is full of bodies. Someone else has done it better and they died for it. Word from the wise, it's okay to cry for it. I wasn't gonna write a poem about being trans because the words get wound around my mouth. Oh my God. An appleless orchard already abandoned by Adam and Eve. My original sin is not fitting in. And my voice vibrates low in my head, but soars out soprano when I speak. I'm being eaten up with tuning forks, all picking different pitches, pricking pinches in my skin. This part's too greasy, this too fatty, too raw, too wrong. The gourmet taste of a gumdrop good girl left out on the counter too long. Hey, remember that dress you always wore to weddings and funerals? How you could have leapt into the casket and buried your old self, emerged new and neutral, half dead but alive for the first time? I wasn't gonna write a poem about being trans, because every trans life already transcends prose. Every song is already being sung every time we take a breath, not bound to the grind of grammar or the slamming jackhammer of syntax, whether I'm he, she, it, or they. Hey, it's okay. I can't hear what you have to say over the chorus of stories reverberating around my rib cage. This guts and glory of soaring against the sky, I was born to fly. I am a poet by accident. If I wasn't going to write a poem about being trans, I wouldn't speak at all. Thank you. entitled We Are Warriors. They named me leader, a knight expected to put out the chaos in the world. Fighting in the front lines, we face noises from all directions. They're glued to our backs, like the soots and ashes of nature overturned by wildfires of hatred, hindering us from focusing on what is right in front of us. For a brief moment, we are blind. Seeing the metaphors crumble beneath us, now treasured pages go discarded. Is it my fault it's this way? That my ink ran dry? That my pen won't work? That this page is dead? That my stanza goes unwritten? Stuck in my brain, a cage of my own making. I'm like a sword coated with lead, with no inkling to fill the blank space. A shield that came from the sacrifices of one thing that provides this page life to live on. Inspiration, dripping down our fingertips, painting our dreams with certainty, an ability to bring anything that we feel, believe, and do to life. Slaying the dragon that is my mind and killing the doubts that surface it. So we keep our eyes wide open, quieting the voices that want to see us fall. Because we are warriors, and we have something they don't. The drive to fight for anyone who needs us. With our pen, our poetry, our voice. Thank you.
That's Mekdi, Ash, Saniya, and Natalia, who is not here. She's out of town. They will be traveling to. Yeah. We'll be traveling together to San Francisco, Bay Area, end of this week for Brave New Voices. You ever heard about Brave New Voices? It's this yearly event that happens. Hundreds of young people, young poets from all over the country like converge on a city, and they kind of take it over, and then just not just competing, but it's fellowship as well. It's, they're getting together, they're having workshops, they're meeting some of their favorite celebrity poets, they're creating new words, they're just vibing, exploring themselves, and everybody who's ever gone has come back transformed. I've never gone and not seen a change in somebody, so I'm really excited to see what happens. One of my OGs is here as well, Sam Jackson, aka Yellow, who, anyway, I could tell a whole book about that person, but anyway, so we're gonna have a good time, and shout out to Chloe Edwards as well, who's been prepping them, getting them ready. We are, get ready to lose some sleep, Chloe. Get ready to lose some sleep. Because they're not going to sleep at all. In 4 days, y'all won't sleep. I know what's gonna happen. Let me get the band, yo. Come on, Pepe. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did I catch everybody off guard? Alright. Give me something that swings, I guess.
Swings.
Some little. What's that? What's that? What's that beautiful Spanish song? Something like that. I don't know what I'm doing, so don't look, maybe you shouldn't record it. We're just going to vibe, see what happens here. So, for those who don't know, I'm what we call a poem MC, even when I'm by myself. So, I be the legend of slick, I avoid the gutter, cause banners and panorama never need the rhyme gutter. I'm like a meth lab, I got your roof on fire, so let it burn, mother, cause we don't need no water. I'm hitting well with thoughts on a level that could've settled scores of wars. Should've called a Coretta or maybe her name was Mina. Living enough for Bella, but she ain't Eurydice and nothing kind of mellow. I'm just the coldest grain of seats and just be manifesting the promise made to Bobby when he blessed me. I get down with the get down, me and DMV, we headed to Baytown. Rather than I spit tomorrow today because forever fronted. Hold the mic like a culture dependent on it. Try to tell them, no need to make a movie with a groupie instead. I caramel by getting all in the cerebellum. The vocal, the parallel, a massage. I never went to my prom. The baby hit the massage. I know you wonder where I've been. I'm like a DeBarge, but listen, it's time consuming being the devil's opposition. You know I'm serotonin, and I ain't in this moment. I'm Taliban, you holler here, you gonna get the stoning. I spit the calorie burner, rockin' the haberdashery. I'm rare like a black girl named Mallory. Oh, I wasn't done. I was just vibing. I wanted to let you go for a minute, that's all. Come on, Pepe. All right, everybody feeling good? Y'all good? Cool. All right. So, you want to follow me? The ING is Black Picasso's gallery. Nihilistic opposite, kick a dust to leave you in it. Find a sky to see your limit. Told you I was so committed. Best believe I dread to weave. I get explicit when I get down with a get down. Me and DMV, we headed to Baytown. My daddy told me to never trust a man with soft hands. He might try to drip you, and we only mess with hard workers. Wow. He rhyming all cool, loud, he's black and proud, like he got a good job. Damn. He rhyming like he knew his dad. He rhyme like he ain't even mad. Whatever's coming will come. I'm speaking love until it don't work. Till it don't work. But don't hurt. You getting funny, I'ma get poetic with the lyric. Make a beat, look poetic. Forget it, it don't matter. We stay on track. Yo, what's up, nerds? All right, look. I just want to vibe with the band a little bit. Shout out to the band. Shout out to Pepe. Nancy and Janelle. Yeah, man. I appreciate y'all. All right, we're gonna do another round, yeah? All right, Ash, you ready? All right, start clapping right now for Ash Newton.
I think I've made it clear I'm not a very good memorizer. So the next one I will be reading off my phone. I heard that's bad form. I don't really mind. I just wanted to say, Patrick, what you just did blew my mind. And I've never heard anyone do that before. It makes me wish I wrote longer raps. I won't be writing anything that rhymes. I have a little something that I have to scroll to find. Oh my god. This one's called Ice Pack for my parents. Wish they could be here tonight. The hypothesis is time moves slower at the poles of the earth. Ice envelops the face of a mountain, a mother, and mine tells me about when she was a child up in Rochester. Sunset was an hour and a half long, and twilight stained the sky till it was far too late for a 12-year-old to keep staring out the window. But Borealis bears dreams only for the faithful, and so, under guises of midnight prayers, all the little creatures lied waiting for the light show, and it lasted longer than life, and everyone was young until they weren't. An ice fishing accident steals three boys from their bodies, but the cold calms them, keeps them in silent stasis, and when they're rescued rescued almost an hour later, it's like waking up again. Because what is the difference between mourning under a mylar blanket and mourning under a milkless black mist? This is the secret of the polar world, the permafrost through which wildflowers poke. Dark is dark, no matter the sickness, no matter the circumstance. The grieving will continue as scheduled. That a sleepless summer brings a sunless winter with nothing in between but work. My father tells me about Alaska in April, where he was shipped up to Fairbanks for his job. How the roads were worn down with crystallized salt, even when the rental car's thermometer read 1 round 80 degrees. Not that he felt it, trapped to consulting constructs of connection in concrete opposites. Still, the memory exists preserved near perfectly in his decaying mind. And while filing towers of recent conversations crumble, he can still recall eating an Arby's sandwich in that gravel parking lot as the tip of an iceberg of experience floating silently in still water. No sand is splashed at the shore. Here at home, no one is nocturnal. Nothing can be relinquished to the rapid revolutions of the earth. It's all spinning so fast, everyone's just holding on to their seatbelts. But as I'm trying to sleep, the TV in the living room drones on, and my parents watch videos of people digging out snow for homes, hoping that an age could be saved. I've got another one. We're allowed to do two, so got it. Because we're allowed to do two, I have another one. This one is kind of long. It's called The Good Dogs of Washington. The single black eye of the surveillance camera perches in the corner of the concrete parking lot like an owl, both rounded, always in a momentary respite from flight, always searching, always with its head meticulously unstitched from its body to provide the freedom of 360 degrees of rotation, an aristocrat, post-guillotine, and angry. The revolution will not be scrutinized by slick, inky eyes slyly slinking around a pillar, only because it's already come and gone. The war on crime ended in a tentative armistice around the time they built the luxury apartments, and now anything goes, as long as it doesn't show. With witnesses everywhere, pickpockets get telekinetic, or worse, start colluding with the enemy. The owl is not the only bird of prey. Eagles and their patronizing patrician patriotism picked vantage points high on their ivory towers to defend their nation from hawks, with their red tails trailing blood money from their hooked beaks, found banks to brood in and blocks to break up. And on the ground, in back alley deals, in resident parking deals, in bathroom for paying customers only deals, the dogs decided their day and its duration. An alliance with the avians, as rulers of the earth and sky, what cooperative canids there were made it clear they would come together with their airy collaborators if the cawing crowds would stop eating their young pups. Do not be surprised with how the story ends. Good dogs learned tricks to tame their tireless tails and tainted their tongues with the tastes of an incurious world. Yes, let's meet for $20 macrobiotic smoothies and shove straws down our snouts until they flatten into the pursed and pinched faces of pugs. Self-domestication cultivated a shiny, soft coat over the hibernating husk that once howled and now sighs, indifferent to its own eyes, its shrinking size, now residing in a high-rise. And in the morning, when it emerges from its kennel and looks across the luxuriant living room, the laminated glass lighting layers of sun rays across the floor, it can almost pretend to live like the birds. But after a long night of working overtime, chasing its tail on a treadmill, printing $1 trillion bills that only ever seem to waft up into the rafters, after after a 5 a.m. phone call and a notice from the landlord that rent is going up again, after conspiring against coworkers to ensure the chihuahua in the next cubicle doesn't get that raise. No, it was always mine. After a couple hard drinks and too many card swipes at a train kiosk, after a ride up the elevator that feels more like falling, when the good dog gets another day done and stands on their billion brick balcony, half inhaling a champagne-flavored vape, they'll consider the expanse of air in front of them, the empty elegance they've earned, the view from the top. And if they step off the platform, they won't be saved by a swoop of wings, but torn by a tear of talons taken somewhere, sliced, salted, and sautéed. Perhaps it is savory, the drawn-out defeat that the dogs live to serve. Oh my God.
Okay, this poem is entitled Moving. Moving. Are we moving? Within that question, there's a statement to be made, ever staying still in the presence of pain, suffering clouds of heavy rain, bang, 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 guns fire, hands raised in surrender. A mother cries out through choking tears as she caresses her baby's head, only 17, blood smearing their shirts. I ask you, are we moving? You answer yes. Slowly but surely we're making ripples in the tide, adding a gust of wind to a tornado of fury, grief, frustration, but most importantly, passion. I see the fire in your eyes burning brighter as you tell me this. A flame of energy igniting inside you with every outbreak of news on TV until it becomes wildfire, one that even the crashing waves of people wanting us to silence their names into darkness can never put out. Black, brown, gold, honey eyes fluttering shut at the sound of sirens closing in. A second in time, meaning 1,000 words as their last dying breaths escape their lips. Tired of mouthing, I can't breathe. Cameras pulled out if they're lucky. For others are still left unheard, still left laying in cold ignorance. I ask you again, are we moving? Feet walking across the streets in search of justice. We yearn for it, longing to hold it tightly in our clenched fists that punch the air for words that have yet been spoken to offer them rest. Peace. And restless we are, banners held high, tears flowing, voices dry from shouting, crying out together in unison, wanting there to be equality in every shade. For though we vary in colors and hues, all beautifully made. Red blood courses through all our veins. as we stand here today, protesting for change. For if nothing changes, nothing changes. Thank you.
This poem is called, Whose Voice Is It? The need to be thinner is what gives me energy, fuels my body, feeds my constant hunger. You've had enough, it says. Eat when you're hungry, it says. It means eat when you feel the sting of migraine taking over your body, when your eyes blur like you're about to fall asleep. It echoes over and over until I fall or until the voice decides to leave me alone for a bit. Although I shouldn't, I lie. I lie and say, I'm full. Or better yet, I just ate, thank you. It forces me to befriend new things like the rectangle blue elastic strip that never wants to leave my mouth because it will scream, shut up, to my crying, begging stomach. So I reward it with a glass of water when it decides to listen for another hour. Remember, water has no calories. Have as much as you want, it says. And I drink as much as I can, but moments later it yells, don't overdrink it, it will bloat you. Clothes 2 times my size make me feel like I've lost more than I should, that I have reached my goal. But then it whispers, don't let others see how much you've gained weight. It's already bad enough that I see it. The voice is slowly taking over my life. First my head, then my body, then my social life. It forces me to follow girls that are skinnier, prettier, happier, complete. Because on the outside, they all look complete. So I don't question it when it forces me to go for 2, 3, maybe even 4 more minutes, hours, days. I listen. Because as I reach for another bite, I see numbers. Numbers that will appear on the scale, on my clothes, on the app that has suddenly become the voice's main cheerleader. I know what's best for you, it screams. Nobody seems to understand. Not even my head, because I know it's wrong, and I feel guilty. I do. But that doesn't stop the voice. And that's when I feel powerless. But that's also when the voice becomes sweeter, nicer, in a way that makes me feel like what I'm doing to myself, to my body, seem okay, normal. It's normal, right? It's normal to feel that way. It's a constant fighting match. Even with my shiny armor like boxing gloves, I lose. I lose the fight every day. So I want to ask the voice, am I finally enough to be loved, respected? Because I've already reached this goal. And not for a second have I felt the happiness or relief that it promised for listening. So I wonder if it lied, if what it told me worsened my condition, if I should have stopped listening the second I felt the twisting and turning of my stomach, begging me to listen, begging me to pay attention. Because I found happiness. I found happiness in the silence of the voice. I found a new voice of my own, and it doesn't force me to hate any part of this body that should have been loved ages ago. Thank you.
All right. I have to bring my towel with me because also a lot. That's what I like, a preacher with his girlfriend and his wife in the front row.
Yeah. Smell like soap.
ourselves to the book of Habakkuk. Is that how you pronounce that? Habakkuk? Habakkuk? Habakkuk. They're all heathens. That's what I mean. Alright, let me do 2. I'm gonna do that. This is up to you. Move on. If it all goes right, mountains will eventually turn into powder, and my worn-out breath will billow away any question of my devotion. If everything goes right, you'll forget what the words "I love you" sound like, but recognize those same movements in the sunlight. I've spent the last few years chasing after so many lost "I love yous." I could have had a necklace of rope burns or trample someone's right to life, but the story didn't end there. And years later, here come the aftershocks rippling out through the speaker. My voice finally reaches for better things. So if everything goes right, the sun won't become abusive to your great-grandchildren. I hope those apples never get bruised. I'm still hoping for a world where skywriters don't run out of air to tell us the things that we've forgotten. Prince steps out of the elevator, and if everything goes right tomorrow morning, we all wake up in each other's arms. Because if God lives within, while idle hands on the devil's workshop, it's only right that they occupy each other, because to not is like playing Illmatic backwards. So as the days pass, it ain't hard to tell what you represent. So when the truth comes one time for your mind, it'll find you all alone, reminiscing over that one love or memory lane, sitting in a park, waiting for halftime, not realizing that the world is yours, but since life's a bitch, let's adopt a New York state of mind. Go back to the Genesis. Cover scars with smiles. Be the bandage that keeps someone else from hemorrhaging these memories. And remember, it ain't a broken heart until it stops. If you're still bleeding, you're still living. Those pains are just the clocks. And trying to lose your mind, blood rushes to certain parts. Because if everything goes right, racism or sexism won't be found in museums. The Bank of America would have lost every cent it stole from me. Some brothers will either die or wake up. If everything goes right, the next president will have a black husband. Take it any way you want. If it all goes right, I'll be in the audience 30 years from now, feeling 15 from now. She'll be on stage accepting some award, and if I'm lucky, my name will be hugging the walls of that cabinet speech, because if everything goes right, our children will survive what's left until light years from now. We live up to a planet, call it Garvey. Start packing for the real black star. I just hope we don't get lost on the way again. This is a letter to my ex. The former me. It is a shout out to St. Jude, a prayer to smirking God, shaking their heads at the belief that if everything goes right, the aloe and the coconut oil will work, the PX90 will work, Steve Harvey's advice will work, the chemotherapy will work. Here's the optimism in the face of it all, y'all. Because one day, I will be lovingly remembered by 4 and not just 3, that drop dead petals will break down like drum beats and get remixed into the very next tree. This is not hope that you live forever. Because if everything goes right, you realize your story is supposed to end. But you'll be okay with it. Whenever, whatever you call God calls you back and this earth retreats from your eyes, if it all goes right, your last breath will sound like an aria, and your obituary will read like The Alchemist. Yo, this band is smooth, yo. I love it. Alright, so I wrote this poem shortly after Chuck Brown died, realizing that we need to give people their flowers, you know, while they're still here. But it's not about Chuck. One day, one of God's most magnetic creations will be leaving us, and we'll be taking Stevie Wonder with it. I don't mean the man. I mean the myth, the vocals, the rhythms, the feng shui of how his songs sway. It's like the perfect soundtrack to any day. I don't care how unattainable you think they are. Stevie puts even the most distant star in reach. Dreams solidify when he plays the ebony and ivory. This idol sees no rivalry. He's out of sight like my Cherie or more. Y'all be like, you can see. His albums are the grand opening of one's heart. Those fingers can manipulate organs, y'all. His, hers, everybody's. This is true. He created an album so sexy that even plants are making love to his music. He is an alchemist. This can change everything. I mean, ain't that voice sugar? I know a girl who shredded a sorry-ass ex via text. His crooked toes, his bald spot, his lip lies, and he responded with 2 tickets to see Stevie. And she's gone. With her new man. But she doesn't hate her ex anymore. I don't want to bore you with it, but you should get you some forgiveness and press play. I don't think you get it. Minnie Riperton, Denise Williams, and Sarita Wright all sang on one of his songs. Do you know what that can do to your tomorrows? I ain't superstitious, but you need to find that girl. Say you will be her Sir Duke, if only she would be your summer soft golden lady. When they play I Wish, forget about everyone and pretend that you are on a trampoline, somewhere between his notes and the stratosphere. See if they join you. Resist the impulse to touch during Isn't She Lovely, and just smile through all the possibilities like he does and enjoy all of your other senses. Inhale the memory of your first and hold it. Imagine rolling your eyes so far back that you have no choice but to trust your loved ones in the room to take care of you. That is what Don't You Worry About a Thing feels like. If you're anything like me, then you will overflow when either Knocks Me Off My Feet or As plays.
Oh, yes.
A swaying skyscraper, an aching volcano, or whirling, humming satellite, becoming any of these will do. When you can take no more, leave your body. Tell the Lord you're just visiting. Ear to the gate, realizing heaven has a Harlem, a Southeast, a 5 Points, a Bourbon Street, and they already play his shit up there. This far from the sun, and they're jamming on the one. You need to get as much of this man as you can. Treat yourself. You deserve it. One day, these songs will echo through your skull, and you won't be there to hear them. One day, there will be no wonder.
Before I go next, I wanted to let you know my mom's favorite sound in the world is a brush against a snare. It's her favorite sound. And so, my dad didn't know this at the time, but on their first date, they had met. My dad put an ad in the newspaper looking for a girlfriend. He was a genius, right before Tinder. And so on their first date, they'd only ever spoken over the phone. My dad took my mom to a jazz cafe called the Blue Angel. It doesn't exist anymore. And somewhere along the date, the guitarist sat down at their table, and my dad got so excited to talk to him because he was a complete loser that he did not realize at all that the guitarist was aggressively flirting with my mother. And this is something I consider so hilarious that it's constantly on my mind. I can't hear a jazz song without thinking about that and think about the miracle that they stayed together. Because I wouldn't have blamed my mom. I have a poem for her. It's very simple. It's called Poem for My Mother, and I'd like to hear some brushes during it. As if from nothing, one day, there you were. The way the sun emerges from behind a cloud, or rather, there I was, with the light in my eyes. Everything in you is the same as what's inside the stars. Silvery signals just sprinkling out of the salt shaker that is the old young universe. As in, nothing we see in the sky is still alive. As in, I think somewhere in the core of that chemical reaction between the hydrogen and helium, they are just like you. singing in kitchens and saving houseplants from the grocery store, herding constellation horses across the heavens. That one's Pegasus, and next to it, Aquarius, carrying water for gardens. The days run away like rain rushing into storm drains and flowing silently underground, approaching the swollen bay of adulthood, but what I wouldn't give to live it in your borrowed clothing. I'm sorry if I get your sweater wet. One drop becomes a deluge with no dam to deter it. Ain't no mountain high enough, no valley I couldn't fill with sound. The echo ricocheting 1,000 times a second, RPM revving and roaring into the rafters of the atmosphere, racing, like young foals in the first minutes of morning, racing, like a dog that has just learned the bounds of its body, racing, like a heart mid-stride, running downhill so fast it feels less like falling and more like flying. A heart rendered ruby red, garnet, carnelian, hardened to the scars of its habitat, but still ready for the chase. A heart that knows no pace, daring to marathon on the darkest of days. A heart like yours, and one that loves you. I wrote that one on Mother's Day, and then a few weeks later, on July 1st, my mom was officially 400 days sober, and that was something that I really needed to mention. I wish she could be here tonight. She's working. This next one is for my father and my sister, because we three, my sister and I are twins, have come together through a passion for motorcycles. It's something I'm very humiliated to talk about because it feels, I don't know, it's terrible. I just came back after seeing a motorcycle race a few weeks ago. It changed my life. And because it's something I love so much, I wrote this, which is called Calculating the Corner Speed of the Hokey Pokey. We're all high school dropout hotshots trying to remember how in hell can 240 kilometers per hour equal 35 minutes, equal 18 laps of 60-degree turns in 90-degree heat, equals first place finish, equals 25 points in a language we'll never really learn. Because we were forged kinetic, not arithmetic, with bodies built not for wielding a number 2 pencil, but for soaring through turn 2 like wildfire. And when the engineers present us with expensive iPads of even costlier data, marked with charts calculating our future careers to the closest degree, I laugh and you shake your head. None of us know how to do math, except 1 plus wrist flick equals ditch, negative left wing equals a bike that turns too far, and the distance between your front wheel and his back is an impossible number. Simplify the difference quotient of you and him, and your shared sparking hatred, and your 2-stroke inhale, exhale, in him, out me, in him, out me, of big thorned gasoline vapor. I'll take systole, you diastole, a warrior's bond forged in team logos and ever-lengthening meetings with higher-ups, so high we can barely see them from our spots here on the pavement. When the big boss bullies us into long division, splitting our systems like sin and sedition, the shifter says there's a secret space between each digit gear. 1, then 2, then 3. And if you stick your heel in it, you're done. What the bosses don't know is you can't divide by 0. You can't split a dynamic duo. This story needs a hero. You can't pit me against her because we're squandered in the pocket between your sorry values. Good thing we're a good waltz, you and I, especially when I'm following, because you put your left foot in and take your left foot out. Slip through the hairpin with your elbow grazing the ground, up the chicane and wrench the bike around. And that's what it's all about.
Hi again. So trying to figure out how to adjust this thing. But but this next piece is entitled To the Girls of Today. To the girls of today,